So I get these comments a lot. Like, wow, you're a lawyer. Wow, you must be so smart. And honestly, it was never in my plan at all to be a lawyer. I didn't become a lawyer because it was part of my childhood dream. When I was young, I never ever imagined myself becoming a lawyer. I didn't have this big dream of standing in court wearing a suit, arguing cases. Not at all. To be honest, when I finished high school, I didn't even really know what I wanted to do at university. So my mom said, just do business, just do accounting. As many Asians parents do, just something that's practical, stable, and will earn you really good money one day. So I just obeyed and went into business studies. Honestly, I struggled so badly. I didn't like school. I didn't like university either. There was no motivation, and during that season, I was also mixing with the wrong group of friends. So my school and university days was not really a great success at all. In fact, I failed so many times that I was eventually excluded from university. I know it's embarrassing to say that out loud, but it is part of my story. At that point, I thought maybe studying in university is not for me. And because I love children, I wanted to study childcare. That made sense to me. I really enjoyed working with children, and I could see myself doing that well. But of course, my mom didn't agree. She got really angry and basically told me, go back to university, get any degree. I'm not going to pay for any other courses for you. So, long story short, I eventually went back to university, different one. And somehow, I graduated with a Bachelor of Business Management at the time. I thought, okay, finished, done. No more study. Now I just need to find a job, earn money, find a good husband, and maybe become a good housewife one day. That was my plan. But of course, as we all know, that was not how the story went. God had a very different plan. So after I graduated, I got a job at the Department of Immigration in Sydney. And actually, I really enjoyed it. I work in migration and citizenship, and I saw so many people from many different backgrounds trying to build a better life in Australia, trying to bring family together and navigating complicated processes. People who were anxious but hopeful, confused, waiting, and praying. And I think with that, I realized it at the time. I think that season began shaping my heart. After about 6 years of working there, I started asking deeper questions. I remember back then seeing, celebrations for other staff members who had worked there for 20 years, 30 years, even 50 years out of school. And although I respected that so much, somewhere deep inside, I thought, I don't think this is the path for me. Not because the work was bad, it wasn't. But I felt this strange restlessness in my heart, like there was something else. I just didn't know what. Then I went on maternity leave to have my first son. Around that time, as I shared before, I felt that strong phrase imprinted in my heart: be a voice for the voiceless. I didn't understand it at all. I just knew it stayed with me. And honestly, when I thought of that phrase, my mind went to something like becoming a barrister. But of course, I immediately thought, no way, I'm not good enough for that. Remember, I was the girl who hated school and university, failed so many times, and I got excluded from university before. Studying law felt completely impossible. I shared my uncertainty with my husband. I told him I didn't really know what to do with my career. And he said, maybe you can become a migration agent. You can help people who are not getting the right advice and help them get better outcomes and earn good money too. That made sense logically. but somehow it still didn't fully sit right in my heart. So I started researching, how do you become a migration agent? What study do you need? What qualification? And somehow, through all that research, the path kept leading me towards law. But I sat on that idea for almost 2 years because I doubted myself so much. I kept thinking, can I really study law? Am I smart enough? What if I fail again? That would be so embarrassing. What if I start and can't finish like I always do? What if people think, who does she think she is? Studying law with a baby? And during that time, I actually went back to something that had always been close to my heart: childcare. Before I finally decided to study law, I enrolled in and completed a Certificate 3 in childcare online. As part of the course, I completed 2 weeks of childcare work placement while my newborn baby boy, Gabe, was being cared for by my mother at home. And honestly, I loved that. There's something beautiful about caring for little children. Something simple, tender, practical. It's very human, and for a while I thought maybe this is the path. I'm happy. Maybe I would work with children. Maybe that made more sense than studying law, because law still felt too big for me and too scary. It just seems too impossible for someone like me. But even after completing the childcare qualification, the idea of law still didn't go away. That phrase still stayed with me: be a voice for the voiceless. And somehow, God kept opening the doors towards law. Not just small doors, wide doors. My workplace agreed to fully pay for my study if I enroll in law. They also agreed to give me extra paid study leave each year, about 6 to 8 weeks. And I remember thinking, okay, God, I think you are making this very hard for me to say no. So I obeyed. I was still very scared and unsure, doubting myself. But I obeyed and I enrolled. And that was how I started my path becoming a lawyer. And looking back now, sometimes I wonder, maybe studying law was preparation for things I didn't even know I would need later on. Maybe God was preparing for me to advocate for Gabe. At that time, I didn't know I would one day have a child with additional needs. I didn't know I would need to learn how to speak up in school meetings with NDIS officers, asking questions to therapists, understanding systems, fundings, challenging things respectfully, and advocating for his needs and rights to be seen properly. And maybe now that I think about it, it was not only for Gabe. Maybe it was also for me. Maybe God was teaching me to speak up for myself, for the little Lina, who had always felt she had to be quiet and to listen and obey, comply, be a good girl, don't cause too much trouble, don't ask too much. Just to do what that little Lina was told to do so that she could maybe feel loved, genuinely accepted. Maybe studying law was part of God giving back my voice. I don't fully know yet, even now. Maybe it was for Gabe, maybe it was for me, maybe it was for many of the families I will help in the future. Maybe it is for something much bigger than I can see right now. I don't have the full picture yet, but I am starting to see little pieces. So, when people ask me why I became a lawyer, I cannot say it was because I planned it from the beginning. I didn't. It was not my perfect career strategy. It was not because I love working with documents, although I quite enjoyed it. It was a path that God slowly opened for me through failure, redirection, motherhood, childcare, through that phrase that wouldn't leave me: be a voice for the voiceless, through my husband's encouragement and relentless support, through doors I could not have opened for myself. Now, when I look back, I can see how all the pieces connected. The work I did in migration, my heart for people, my love for children, my own failures, my family story, passion for advocacy, my desire to help families prepare well. At that time, it looked very messy. But looking back now, I can see awesome grace. Sometimes the path to purpose is not straight. Sometimes it's like me, going through lots and lots of failures, confusion, closed doors, embarrassment, and waiting and waiting and starting again. But that does not mean God is not working through it all. Sometimes He is using all of it, just that we don't know. So if your path has not been straight, I want to encourage you. Maybe your failures are not the end of your story, and your detours in life is not wasted. Maybe the things that you never planned could still become part of your purpose. It's never too late. So let me ask you this question. Have you ever ended some way you never planned, but later on realized that it shaped you for a purpose? Be blessed and see you in the next video.